golden age celebrities who transformed themselves beyond recognition. What if it told you that some of Hollywood's most stunning icons weren't born with the looks that made them famous? The golden goddesses and leading men who made millions swoon actually underwent dramatic transformations that would shock you. We're talking about complete physical makeovers, secret surgeries, and studio-mandated changes that turned ordinary people into the most desired faces in the world. And the lengths they went to hide these secrets would blow your mind. Before we reveal these jaw-dropping transformations, drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We're giving away a rare classic Hollywood Glamour DVD box set featuring 50 films from the stars we'll be discussing today to one lucky viewer. Now, let's dive into Hollywood's most carefully guarded secrets. Number 17, Marilyn Monroe, the bombshell secret surgery. Everyone knows Marilyn Monroe was born blonde, but what they don't know is that her famous face involved actual surgery. Born Norma G. Mortensen, Monroe had a weak, receding chin that made her profile look childlike in a way that wasn't glamorous. The chin implant was documented by her plastic surgeon, who later revealed that Monroe underwent the procedure to strengthen her jawline. The small silicone implant completely changed the proportions of her face, giving her that sultry, confident look that captivated the world. Monroe was terrified the surgery would be discovered as cosmetic procedures were career suicide in the 1950s. What's really shocking is that Monroe may have also had a subtle nose job. While never officially confirmed, before and after photos show a dramatic difference in her nose shape. Her tip was refined and the bridge narrowed, creating that perfect button nose that became her trademark. Number 16, Rita Worth, the love goddess's painful transformation. Rita Worth's transformation from Margarita Carmen Canino was far more brutal than most people realize. While everyone knows about the hair color change, the real agony was a hairline alteration that took over 2 years to complete. That Rita's natural hairline was extremely low, giving her what one studio executive called an unflattering forehead. The solution was electrolysis, a process where each individual hair follicle was destroyed with electric current. This wasn't a few sessions. It was weekly torture for over 2 years. Rita later described the pain as excruciating, like tiny needles of fire being driven into her skull. The procedure left her forehead scarred and sensitive to light for months. Now, here's the kicker. She had to wear special makeup and avoid certain lighting angles during filming. The transformation worked, but Rita lived in constant fear that close-up shots would reveal the scarring from her procedures. Number 15, Clark Gable, the King's dental disaster. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, had a secret that could have destroyed his romantic leading man image. His teeth were absolutely terrible, and his breath was legendarily bad. Gable's natural teeth were saw-crooked and rotten that he had to have them all removed and replaced with dentures when he was still a young man. The dentures were poorly fitted and gave Gable chronic bad breath that co-stars complained about constantly. Vivian Leigh famously said that kissing Gable in Gone with the Wind was like kissing an old man because of his denture breath. The studio had provided him with special mouthwash and breath mints between takes. The really shocking part, Gable's dentures would sometimes slip during romantic scenes. There are several takes from various films where you can actually see his teeth shifting in his mouth during passionate kisses. The studio editors had to be constantly vigilant to cut around these embarrassing moments. Number 14, Elizabeth Taylor, the Vile Tide Beauty's weight battle. Elizabeth Taylor's legendary beauty remained constant, but her weight fluctuated so dramatically throughout her career that she was essentially a different person every few years. Taylor would gain and lose 50 to 70 pounds multiple times, completely transforming her appearance. The weight gain wasn't just about overeating. Taylor was prescribed appetite-stimulating medications after various surgeries and injuries. These drugs caused massive weight gain that the studio had to work frantically to hide. Costume designers had to create multiple versions of every outfit to accommodate her changing size. What's really heartbreaking is how Taylor developed a cycle of crash dieting and binge eating that lasted her entire life. She would starve herself before major films, then gain massive amounts off weight during breaks. The constancio dieting wreaked havoc on her metabolism and contributed to many off-related health problems. Number 13, John Wayne, the Duke's secret hairpiece. John Wayne, the epitome of rugged masculinity, was actually bald for most of his career and wore elaborate tupes that cost more than most people's annual salaries. Wayne started losing his hair in his 20s, and by the time he became amateur star, he was almost completely bald on top. The tupes were custom made to be Hollywood's most exclusive wig maker and had to be perfectly matched to Wayne's natural hair color and texture. The process of applying and maintaining the hairpiece took hours every morning and required a full-time hair specialist in every film set. Get this, Wayne's still would sometimes shift during fight scenes or horseback riding sequences. There are several outtakes where you can see the hairpiece sliding around on his head during action sequences. The stunt coordinators had to develop special techniques to keep Wayne's toupee in place during physical scenes. Number 12, Bing Crosby, the Cuners' Bald Truth. Bing Crosby, one of the most popular entertainers of the Golden Age, was almost completely bald by his 30s and wore tupes for his entire career. What made this particularly shocking was that Crosby's image was built on being the casual natural guy next door. Crosby's baldness was so extensive that it couldn't even appear in public without his toupee. There are virtually no photographs of Crosby without his hairpiece, and he was reportedly more paranoid about his baldness being revealed than any other aspect of his private life. The toupee maintenance was a constant source of anxiety for Crosby. He traveled with multiple backup hairpieces and a personal hair specialist. During the filming of his movies, entire scenes had to be red-hot when his toupee looked unnatural or shifted during takes. Number 11, Fred Astaire, the dancing legend's hair secret. Fred Astaire, the epitome of elegance and sophistication, wore a toupee for virtually his entire career. Astaire started bald in his 20s, and by the time he became a major star, his natural hairline had receded dramatically. What made Astaire's situation particularly challenging was that his elaborate dance routines put enormous stress on his hairpiece. The toupee had to be secured with special adhesives and clips that could withstand vigorous movement without shifting or falling off. Here's something that will surprise you. Astaire's dance partners often complained that his hairpiece would shed during romantic dance sequences, leaving them covered in fake hair. Ginger Rogers reportedly had to have her costumes cleaned after every take because of hair from Astaire's toupee. Number 10, Gary Cooper, the strong, silent type's dental drama. Gary Cooper's rugged all-American image had a mouthful of dental problems that required extensive reconstruction. That Cooper's natural teeth were severely damaged from years of poor dental hygiene and possibly from his early days as a ranch hand. The dental work was so extensive that Cooper had to take a 6-month break from filming to recover. The studio told the press he was suffering from exhaustion, but he was actually recovering from having most Opie's teeth replaced with caps and bridges. What's fascinating is that the dental work actually changed Cooper's speech pattern slightly. If you listen carefully to his early films versus his later ones, there's a subtle difference in how he pronounces certain words. Voice coaches had to work with him to maintain his characteristic laconic speaking style with his new teeth. Number 9, Joan Crawford, the dancing daughter's complete makeover. Joan Crawford's transformation from Lucille Failure was one of Hollywood's most complete reinventions. Crawford didn't just change her name. She changed everything about her appearance. Started with extensive dental work to fix her crooked teeth and prominent overbite. The dental reconstruction was so extensive that Crawford's face shape actually changed. Her jawline became more defined, and her profile was completely different. The work took over a year to complete and required multiple surgeries to achieve the final result. Crawford also underwent painful procedures to change her hairline and eyebrow shape. She had her eyebrows completely removed and redrawn in a higher arch that gave her a more sophisticated look. The process was agonizing and had to be repeated regularly throughout her career. Number 8, Rock Hudson, the all-American hero's hidden struggles. Rock Hudson's transformation into Hollywood's ideal leading man involved extensive dental work and voice training that completely changed his appearance and sound. Hudson's natural teeth were severely crooked, and his voice was much higher and softer than the deep masculine tone he became known for. The dental work was particularly challenging because Hudson had to continue working while undergoing treatment. Special temporary caps were created for filming, and Hudson often had to speak carefully during takes to prevent his temporary teeth from shifting. The voice training was equally dramatic. Hudson worked with coaches for years to lower his natural speaking voice and developed the authoritative tone that became his trademark. The process was so extensive that Hudson sometimes forgot to use his natural voice even in private conversations. Number 7. Frank Sinatra, Old Blue, eyes hair transplant pioneer. Frank Sinatra was one of the first major celebrities to undergo hair transplant surgery. Though the early techniques were primitive and often unsuccessful, Sinatra's natural hairline began receding dramatically in his 30s, threatening his heartthrob image. The early hair transplant procedures were painful and produced unnatural-looking results. Sinatra had to undergo multiple procedures to achieve a convincing hairline, and even then, the results were inconsistent. Close-up photographs from the 1960s show the telltale signs of early transplant techniques. What most people don't realize is that Sinatra also wore hairpieces to supplement his transplanted hair. The combination of transplants and tubes created a complex daily routine that required professional assistance to maintain properly. Number 6. Marlon Brando. The method actor's dramatic physical changes. Marlon Brando's transformation from the svelte, muscular young man of a streetcar named Desirito, the massive figure of his later years, was one of Hollywood's most dramatic physical changes. Brando gained over 100 pounds during his career, completely altering his appearance and screen presence. The weight gain wasn't just from overeating. Brando suffered from various health issues that contributed to his size increase. He also became notorious for his unusual eating habits during filming, including his habit of keeping food in his cheeks during takes. The most shocking aspect of Brando's transformation was how it affected his career. Directors had completely redesigned costumes and adjust camera angles to accommodate his changing size. Some roles had to be rewritten or recast because Brando could no longer fit the physical requirements. Number 5. Orson Welles. The boy wonder's expanding waistline. Orson Welles' transformation from the slim young director of Citizen Kane to the massive figure of his later career was dramatic enough to affect his ability to get roles. Welles gained over 150 pounds during his career, completely changing his screen presence. The weight gain created practical problems during filming. Sets had to be reinforced to support Welles' weight, and special camera equipment was sometimes needed to film him effectively. Costume designers had to create elaborate designs to minimize his size on screen. Welles became notorious for his appetite and unusual eating habits. He would sometimes eat entire meals between takes and was known to consume massive quantities of food during long filming days. The catering budget for Welles films was often double that of other productions. Number 4. Lauren Beale. The look that was manufactured. Lauren Beale's famous sultry voice and confident demeanor were the result of extensive coaching and training. Beale's natural voice was much higher and more garish than the deep husky tone that made her famous. The voice training was so intensive that Beale had to practice for hours every day to maintain her new speaking style. She worked with vocal coaches throughout her career to perfect a low, smoky delivery that became her trademark. What's really interesting is that Beale's famous look, that sultry, confident stare, was actually a technique she developed to control her nerves. She would look down and then look up through her lashes because she was too nervous to maintain direct eye contact with the camera. Number 3. Cary Grant. The accent wasn't the only fake thing. Cary Grant's transformation from Archibald Leach involved more than just changing his accent. Grant underwent extensive training to change his entire physical presence, including his posture, gestures, and facial expressions. The accent change was the most dramatic aspect of Grant's transformation. He worked with voice coaches for years to perfect his mid-Atlantic accent, completely erasing traces of his working-class Bristol background. The process was so thorough that Grant sometimes forgot to use his natural accent, even in private. Grant also underwent extensive training to change his physical mannerisms. He learned to talk differently, gesture more elegantly, and even change his facial expressions to appear more sophisticated and refined. Number 2, Judy Garland. The girl next door's chemical transformation. Judy Garland's transformation wasn't surgical, it was chemical. The studio put Garland on a strict regimen of diet pills and appetite suppressants that dramatically changed her appearance and personality. The drugs made her lose weight rapidly, but also made her increasingly unstable. The chemical transformation began when Garland was still a teenager.